Across the vast, wild frontiers of Australia, from the mist-laden rainforests of Queensland to the endless river basins that fade into the horizon, something is happening, quietly, but undeniably. Everyone who works the land, who walks the bush, can feel it. Wild boars, they don't belong here. They are not a creation of this land. They came, they spread, and now they tear through the soil as if plowing up history itself. Their numbers now reach into the millions, and every year, farmers watch their fields torn apart, again and again, until the losses climb beyond $100 million Australian dollars. Farmland shredded, riverbanks collapsing. What once pulsed with life now bleeds like an open wound. And it forces a single brutal question. If we don't take control now, what will be left of this land in 5 years? Some questions don't need an answer. You just look at the ground, and you know. This is no longer just about protecting the economy. It's about protecting where we live, the land, the water, the balance that nature built long before we ever arrived. And Famigo Farm is here, not to dramatize, not to glorify, but to bear witness to the real people out there, standing in the heat, in the dust, in the wild, defending their homeland in the quietest and yet the strongest way possible. Look closer into the ruins and you'll see it. Australia's fragile, isolated ecosystem breaking apart under the spread of wild boars. They root through riverbanks, marshes, and wetlands, stripping away vegetation, eroding the soil, and clouding the waters that once ran clear. Studies now show that more than 40% of northern Australia's wetlands have been degraded directly by feral pigs. The damage to agriculture alone exceeds $106 million Australian dollars every year, with regions like northwestern New South Wales losing as much as 47 to 50 million annually. And when you add the cost of land restoration, irrigation repairs, and disease control, the total impact climbs toward $200 to $300 million a year. But when you talk to the farmers, you realize numbers aren't what wear them down. It's the helplessness, watching the land slip away right before their eyes. And this is no longer a distant story for America. Farmers in Texas don't need research to understand it. They see it every day, in their own fields. Two lands, half a world apart. Yet the footprints on soft earth feel hauntingly the same. To understand why they're so difficult to control, you have to look at how they live. Wild boars reproduce at a staggering rate. A small group can multiply noticeably in just a few seasons. That means every control effort must be ongoing, not a one-time fix. But speed isn't their only weapon. They're smart. They learn to avoid traps, change their routes, and even switch to feeding at night to evade human presence. As a result, the cost of control only climbs higher year after year. And this isn't just an Australian problem. In the United States, the economic damage caused by feral hogs has already surpassed $1.5 billion annually. Proof that the same invasion pattern is unfolding across two very different continents. Against an enemy that's smart and that fast to multiply, control can't rely on a single method. This is a long campaign, one that demands multiple strategies working together across wide territories, repeated again and again in rhythm with their breeding cycles. And that's exactly why Australia has built a national-scale system, a coordinated front designed not for one victory, but for endurance. In agricultural zones and the buffer lands bordering Australia's arid heart, controlled baiting operations use compound 1080, a toxin chosen for its effectiveness against wild boars while posing minimal risk to many native species that evolved alongside similar natural compounds in this environment. It's a method designed for scale, reducing population density across vast areas where people simply can't be present all the time. On accessible farms and lands, large stationary corral traps are erected, not to catch a single animal, but to take entire sounders at once. Remove only a few, and the survivors will reproduce so quickly that all prior effort collapses back to zero. Sounder trapping is the most cost-effective option for wide country where boar movement is obvious. In this fight, success isn't measured by how many traps you set, but by how well you read a sounder's movement and its mind. In the most remote places, dense forest, jagged ranges, and inaccessible wetlands, control teams turn to helicopter shooting operations. It's costly, demanding flawless coordination between pilot and marksman, precise flight mapping, and lightning-fast timing. Yet it remains the quickest way to cut numbers in country that's effectively closed to foot teams. All of these strategies are not about eradicating the invader entirely. That's impossible, and both Australia and the United States know it well. The goal is to keep wild boar densities below the damage threshold, to protect crops, water supplies, and biodiversity before the imbalance becomes irreversible. On the ground, wild boar pursuit relies on seamless coordination between hunters, dogs, and the understanding of terrain. In thick vegetation, where sightlines vanish and tracks disappear beneath fallen leaves, hunting dogs become the team's first eyes and ears. Trained through countless seasons, they can detect scent trails, movement patterns, and even the tension within a boar sounder, guiding the hunters through dense forests where human senses alone would fail.
Yeah. Hey, take the rope. Come on. Direct. Right here and right there.
When the team moves into a suspected area, the dogs don't attack outright. They track and flush, forcing the boars from their deep cover, where terrain and brush usually hide them from sight. Once the sounder breaks, the dogs shift to containment, holding a safe distance, keeping the animals from charging blindly toward the hunters or fleeing into nearby settlements. This control allows the hunters to move into position, maintain full awareness, and finish the task with a precise, disciplined rifle shot. Swift, controlled, and safe. No prolonged chase. No unnecessary risk to people, dogs, or the land itself. But hunting is more than what happens in the field. For any control program to truly work, every operation must be paired with continuous monitoring and assessment. Management teams record population density, movement corridors, and seasonal activity patterns, building a living map of the invasion. These data guide how resources are deployed, ensuring time and funding aren't wasted on areas where populations have already declined. This is the key: strategic control, not random pursuit. And for American viewers, this is no stranger to them. In Texas, Alabama, and Florida, wild hog control teams operate under the very same model. Humans, hunting dogs, population tracking, and selective intervention. 2 continents, 2 climates. Yet the strategy is strikingly alike, because the challenge is the same: to protect the land, the crops, the livestock, and the safety of entire communities from an invasive species that is smart, resilient, and endlessly determined to survive. However, control is only half the battle. If the environment remains favorable, they will return. This fight isn't just about pursuit and suppression, because removing wild boars without changing their habitat means they'll simply come back, breed, and reclaim the land once more. That's why Australia has shifted toward a deeper strategy, making the habitat itself less inviting. Water is the lifeblood of this species. In the dry season, entire sounders move along waterways like veins through the land. So management agencies now fence off or restrict access to artificial freshwater sources, especially small reservoirs and farm irrigation dams in remote regions. As water becomes harder to reach, population density declines naturally, shrinking their range without constant human intervention. At the same time, restoration programs are taking shape along the riverbanks, places once torn open by boars, stripped bare to the roots. Native vegetation is being replanted, layer by layer, season after season, anchoring the soil, reducing erosion, and rebuilding nature's own line of defense. As the river edges come back to life, the land becomes less favorable for wild boars to dig and forage, while native species gain a fighting chance to recover. This marks a turning point. The fight is no longer just about removal. It's about restoring balance.
Look at that, folks. All the meat is going
Alongside population control and habitat management, another crucial front has emerged: the surveillance of wild boar health. These animals don't just destroy land and crops, they're potential carriers of dangerous diseases that can spread to livestock and even to humans. That's why, during every control operation, field teams collect blood and tissue samples to be analyzed for pathogens such as bovine tuberculosis, Q fever, and most critically, African swine fever, ASF. The results feed into a nationwide risk map, tracking movement patterns and identifying high-risk zones. When anomalies appear, an early warning system is triggered, allowing farmers and government agencies to respond before outbreaks spread. This is especially vital with foot and mouth disease, FMD. A single outbreak could freeze an entire nation's meat exports and cause billions in losses every month. That's why this battle isn't fought only in the fields or deep in the bush. It's also waged in laboratories, in data maps, and in every cautious decision made to prevent disease. A silent system standing guard over the nation's agriculture, shielding it from shocks that could never be undone. Because wild boars don't recognize farm fences or state lines, the fight to control them can't stop at the local level. In Australia, the issue is treated as a national challenge, and the government has established a unified legal framework to ensure every control campaign is standardized, coordinated, and sustainable. Wild boars are officially classified as a Category 5 pest species, a designation that empowers the federal government to allocate resources, intervene when necessary, and lead large-scale operations, especially when the threat of disease may cross regional or state borders. For that reason, activities such as aerial shooting or professional ground control require certified licenses, and every participant must comply with strict animal welfare standards, ensuring that each action is carried out responsibly, ethically, and transparently. From that legal foundation, a federal management strategy was established, with agencies like the Center for Invasive Species Solutions, CISS, providing technical guidance, developing national action plans, and sharing region-specific control methods. But government alone can't win this fight. The participation of landowners, farmers, and local communities is critical because wild boars move freely across fences, irrigation channels, and private boundaries, rendering isolated efforts almost meaningless. Only when entire communities act together can population levels be held below the threshold that would collapse the ecosystem.
Today. So it should be good fun. Going to be using these big 200.
In this battle, humanity does not stand as the conqueror of nature, but as the guardian of balance. Every farmer who builds a fence, every control team tracking footprints through the forest, every scientist studying microscopic threats, and every community, whether in Australia or the United States, understands one truth. When balance is broken, we must rise to restore it. The lesson here isn't that we are stronger than nature. It's that only through knowledge, patience, and cooperation can we truly live in harmony with the land. And that journey is still unfolding. Famigo Farm will remain on the front line, documenting, narrating, and sharing the most authentic stories of those standing on the fragile line between conservation and survival. Protecting the land has never been easy, but it is the responsibility of those who understand the value of their homeland. If you believe these stories deserve to continue, leave a small sign beneath this video. A like, a share, or simply a comment that says, "We protect this land together." See you in the next chapter. We're just getting started.